STEMology, a Young Scientist Survival Guide, Session 20. Welcome, STEMologists. This is STEMology with Alina Adams. This podcast was created with future scientists in mind. Those brilliant, innovative, curious, community-guided students who I know are setting out to change the world one day. The goal here is to introduce STEM students to the world of science in a way that the classroom can't always do. I hope at some point in your academic career, you will find your why and choose to hold on to it for dear life as the pressures of being molded into the innovator of your dreams consumes you, but in the best way, of course. As a diverse set of guests, which are students and professionals alike, join me for various discussions, there's the confidence that the veil of what life is as a researcher will be pulled back, allowing for further examination of the STEM field. With me as your virtual cheerleader along for your journey. I have the pleasure to be here today via Zoom with Dr. Tammy Welchert, whom you all might remember from episode 15, Attention High Schoolers. A quick note, although this series is dedicated to high school students in the title, I expect there's a great deal of information in this episode that might pertain to our older or more college experienced listeners as well. So welcome, Dr. Welchert. I congratulate the fact that you have accepted a promotion since we last spoke, so why don't you reintroduce yourself?
Sure, so thank you. I'm Dr. Tammy Welchert, and I was with the School of Biological and Chemical Sciences at UMKC for the past 21 years, but as you mentioned, recently transitioned into the Office of the Provost as the Director for Academic Advising. So my role is the development and implementation of centralized advising to bring just a better, more engaging kind of a success mentor role to our advisors and students.
That's amazing because I really can't imagine anyone better suited for that role, so I'm pretty excited too.
Good, I'm excited too.
That's awesome. So have you found some time to relax and kind of take some time for yourself, maybe with some new books or new TV shows or anything?
So that's interesting that you ask. I have TV night.
Do you?
I don't watch a lot of TV, but I have TV night. And so one of the things that I spent watching this last spring was Little Fires Everywhere. I think it was on. I know, it was great. So I was talking with Dr. Huber in the chemistry department, and Celeste Ng is the author of the book Little Fires Everywhere, and she wrote another book called Everything I Never Told You. So that's what's sitting on my nightstand right now.
I'm glad you told me that. I think I'm gonna have to purchase too. It sounds awesome. So we have Bio Boot Camp coming up too. Will you be there for that?
I will not be, unfortunately. I just got out of a leadership meeting just a few minutes ago for boot camp, and it was kind of hard to say goodbye and let that go.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited about it. I think students are going to learn a lot, but I'm a little sad now that you won't be there.
Oh, it's a fantastic program.
I agree, and with classes starting up, it'll really help some students out. I was wondering if there was anything students should be sure to do in the days before classes get pretty intense.
Sure, so there are a couple of things that students can do to help them prepare for the first week. So one of the things they can do is logging into Pathway to make sure that there haven't been any changes to their schedule or locations for their face-to-face classes. We've been doing a lot of rearranging, so class locations may have changed if they're in a face-to-face class. Making sure that they know where those classes are located. So using a campus map, we talked about that previously, that can help students to find buildings on campus. Also, students should log into Canvas. That's our classroom site to see if their professor has gone ahead. And the syllabus is a contract with your professor for the class. It will also note their contact information, how you can contact them, where their office is located, so lots of helpful information. Yeah. And then lastly, just getting that planner, whether you do a paper planner or an electronic planner, going through that syllabus and writing in when all of those assignments are due for all of your classes, when exams are, when projects are due. And something, Alina, that students don't always remember is writing in when they need to do reading. So almost all lectures are published with the reading that they coincide with. So students should write that reading in their planner too to make sure everything gets done and they're as prepared as possible.
I love planners, and I'm really glad that you mentioned that. I just bought a really fancy one off of Amazon, and I plan to kind of live out of it. I take it a little one step further, and I plan out meals too, because I have a tendency to kind of extend those out, maybe some nap time or some rest time too, because things get a little hectic during the semester. This is a semester unlike any other one though, so we'll see what happens.
That is very true.
I was wondering about parking passes or meal plans. Is that something students should be preparing for as well?
Absolutely. Both of those things, students can just use the search bar on the UMKC website, just put in parking or meal plan, and that will take them directly to the website that they need to purchase those.
Okay, perfect. And just to recap episode 15 for you all, although I do recommend spending some time to go back and relive all the juicy details, but we had talked about which classes to take and when, and Dr. Welchert said to just speak with your advisor about that, what to do if you don't like your roommate or your dorm room, and again, speak to your RA. And the last thing we spoke about was, should you be expected to be slammed with work the first day or first week of classes? And you may even have homework week 1, but just go ahead and expect it, be prepared for all of that. But I'm confident Dr. Welchert will be able to cure you of some of that anxiety that you might be feeling right now. So this is an unrecognizable and concerning time, like all times of major changes seem to feel like. But it's important to remember that you're not alone going through this, and you're going to feel probably a lack of motivation and discouragement, but try to remain optimistic and keep the end goal in mind of that you're doing all of this for the diploma to reach your dreams of whatever that is. You mentioned that students should be prepared with a map of campus if they're unfamiliar. Are there going to be some classes held in person, and how do they choose which ones?
Sure. So yes, there are classes that will be face-to-face this fall. We are committed, especially to our freshman and sophomore students, to providing as much face-to-face classroom opportunities as possible. And that is limited a little bit by our commitment and desire to keep students safe. We are only opening at 25% capacity, so that's limited a little bit of the space and the time constraints for scheduling those classes. But as far as I know, even Swimming Recreation Center, bookstore, the libraries, all of those plan to be open. They've been rearranged or kind of arranged in such a way to be able to handle students and keep everybody socially distanced.
Absolutely. That sounds awesome. I've been really stressed about that, if the library would be open. So thank you for clearing that up for me. And then we mentioned having a map and maybe even going on campus and kind of walking around. That way you know that maybe it takes you 10 minutes to get from the education building to the biological sciences building, so you can plan that out depending on your schedule. I make sure that I walk right in front of Einstein's in between classes because I like getting coffee. So little details like that would help out a lot.
There's nowhere that you can't get on campus in less than 10 minutes. So if students have classes back to back, typically there's a 10 or 15 minute space in between those. So really on our campus, it's easy to get to any building you need. The biggest challenge is if you have something scheduled in the biology building and then something immediately following in the School of Education. Those are on the direct opposite corners of campus, and you gotta kind of hook it to get there in time.
I've gone through that enough times to know that right when class is over, find maybe a bird off of the bird app and just take a scooter straight to class.
Oh, there you go. I haven't braved a bird scooter yet.
I 100% recommend those, and they're fun. It makes in between classes pretty fun. So I was wondering if there were buildings on campus that might remain closed for the duration of the semester.
Yeah, to my knowledge, every building on campus will be open and available. I think one thing that's important for students to know is that a lot of the common area spaces have been either restricted, furniture's been removed to help us maintain those social distancing requirements. One thing, all students will be provided kind of a keep every roof safe care packet when they come onto campus. So that packet will contain a mask, a washable cloth mask, hand sanitizer, and a pack of 80 disinfecting wipes. There will also be PPE equipment available in vending machines across campus. So there's a full machine outside of Einstein that you just mentioned, and one on Health Sciences campus. All the vending machines on campus, I think, are being fitted to where they can have a mask or hand sanitizer or disinfecting wipes available for purchase. And everything's between $1 and $4.
Wow, that's perfect. I think that alone will encourage so many people. I think that's a great measure that they're taking to keep us all safe.
I think that's important. We all have to do our role.
Could outdoor learning become a thing to look forward to, do you think? Or is that a little...
Wouldn't it be awesome? I would love outdoor learning. For years, I wanted to teach a class called Camping Across Kansas, to where we would go to different archaeological and historical sites across campus and talk about the biology and the ecology, but I was never able to put that together. But I love the idea of an outdoor classroom.
Yeah.
But no, currently we don't have anything planned for that.
Do you think it would be more on a professor basis if they did it, or?
I do.
Yeah.
I do.
All right, maybe we can start a little petition. I think it'd be fun too. So those were all of the code-related questions I had for you. These next few are a little more general and administrative questions. In my opinion, navigating college specifics can be a little draining, and it wasn't even until my third semester that I felt truly comfortable going through the money side of college by myself. I swear I had my mom reading through each of the FAFSA questions for me just to make sure I didn't mess it up. Were your kids like that too, Dr. Welchert?
Yes, I get asked a lot of questions about financial aid, and I will tell them I know just enough to get both of us in trouble, so let me refer you to UMKC Central.
Well, that's perfect then, UMKC Central. I'm sure you can find a lot of help. Going toward the administrative center on Oak Street, get all of your questions answered there.
Absolutely. Since UMKC Central is available to answer questions about the cashier's office, about financial aid and scholarships, admissions, and registration and records. So it's really a one-stop shop for students.
Yes, and I think they're all on the same floor too. So
They
you
are.
can go step 1, 2, 3 in a triangle. So starting off, questions that students had posed. Where do you find your classes?
So Pathway is the place to go. You
Pathway.
can log into your student center on Pathway, and if you click on My Schedule, and down at the bottom are some selections that you can make that will show you who your professor is, the building locations. So that's where you can go to find where your classes are. Also in Canvas, talked about Canvas before, you can review your syllabus. Your location for your class should be listed in the syllabus as well.
Perfect. Seems easy enough, but reach out to your advisor or any of your professors if you have any questions about any of that. So it seems like the perfect time to buy some textbooks.
It's an excellent time. It's an excellent time to buy a lot of things this weekend. I bought a new iPad this morning.
Did you?
So yeah, that's something that a lot of students don't know is that Apple has specials right now on MacBooks and iPads for educational purposes. So students can get a discount with them in addition to taking advantage of tax-free weekend. But yes, the bookstore, students who are looking to buy their textbooks can do so with the bookstore. They can go in person, the bookstore is now open, or they can order online and have them delivered or set for pickup.
There are a lot of online booksellers also. Ebooks are a big thing right now. I get my textbooks from Chegg sometimes. I find that they're a little cheaper if I rent from them. Do you have any other advice like that for online shopping?
Well, I will tell you that the UMKC bookstore does have a shop and compare function for textbooks. So they will price out to other entities, the ebooks and Cheggs and Book Exchange. I think Student Book Exchange is one. I know my son is going to be a new freshman at UMKC this year, so we've kind of split. We got half the books from the bookstore and half the books from Chegg. So
Yeah, exactly. You have to do what you have to do sometimes to save some money. So once you have your class schedule, is there a way to change it before the first day of classes? I know that there are some deadlines. Do you know anything about the deadlines?
I do know about that. So students have until midnight on Friday, August 28th to make changes to their schedule without any penalty. So they won't incur any change fees. They don't need any signatures or anything like that to make a change to their schedule. We always encourage students to make changes to their schedule in consultation with their advisor. But one important thing that students need to know is after Friday, August 28th, so at 12:01 on that next Saturday, the 29th, students, if they withdraw from a class, only get a 50% refund on that class. That's a big chunk of change.
Exactly.
So it's important that they check their schedule now and are working with their advisor now if they need to make any changes.
Perfect. Well, thank you. And in line with huge chunks of change, do you know anything about tuition? Is that expected before you take classes? Are there payment plans or loans? How does that work?
Right, we talked about UMKC Central, and that is absolutely the place to go if students have questions about payment plans, payment due dates. They can also look at the cashier's website on the UMKC webpage to see when due dates are for payments, and that varies based on the time that the student first enrolled in the classes. So, but UMKC Central is there, and they can answer any type of question like that, again, for cashiers, financial aid and scholarships, for admission or records and registration.
Perfect. I have been in that building a lot of times because I like how sweet they are. They always make sure that I get things figured out, and they respond really quickly if you have to email or call. So
yes,
highly recommend. The next question was, how can you be expected to complete a degree in 4 years? Like 120 credits seems like so many.
It does seem like a lot, doesn't it? Kind of our battle cry, I guess, is 15 to finish. And what that means is that in every fall and spring semester, if students will commit to enrolling in 15 credit hours, 15 times 2, that's 30 in a year, times 4 is 120.
There we go.
Bam, they're done.
There we go. When it's split out like that, it doesn't seem like 4 years, but it does feel like 4 years. Let's just say that.
It adds up quickly.
Perfect. So, are there any need-to-know programs or organizations available on campus? I'm thinking mental health or physical health. What are your recommendations?
Sure. So being engaged on campus can take a lot of different forms, and it's very important that students take care of all aspects of their well-being. Their mental well-being, their physical well-being, their academic well-being. So let's kind of break that down a little bit. Emotional well-being is very important, and we all know right now in this time of the COVID pandemic, that takes a toll, kind of isolating yourself and not being able to high five and give hugs.
Yeah.
It takes a toll, right? We miss those things. So UMKC has partnered with the Sanvello app, and students can get that app for free through the Google Store or their the App Store for Apple, and download that so they have access to that for free. The UMKC Counseling Services Office has also instituted a COVID kind of self-care Zoom virtual organization where students can go to learn more about what their coping strategies are, think about that in relationship to their goals, and then learn how they can kind of broaden or expand their coping skills. So that program starts on August the 19th, and students can find out more information about that from an advisor or from counseling services. But it's absolutely for free, and it's all virtual.
That's awesome. I 100% recommend taking full advantage of that. Check in with yourself, make sure you're okay.
Absolutely. We talked about one aspect of that, mental health. The academic well-being, it's important for students to know that advisors and instructors will still be available this semester. Even though they may be meeting them virtually, that doesn't mean that we care any less, but we're making ourselves available to students to access when they need it. So it's important that when you need help, that you reach out for help, because help will still be available. Just general well-being, it's important for students to remember to take care of themselves, that they're eating nutritiously.
Yes.
Starbucks and Snicker bars is not the breakfast of champions.
Way to call me out like that, Dr. Welchert.
I know. But, also making sure that they are taking time to exercise. I mentioned that Sweeney Recreation Center is going to be open. And then they're getting plenty of sleep. Sleep is the number one thing that students will cut to have time for other things.
I can attest to that, absolutely. I know that there's also a campus pantry. What can you tell me about that?
Yeah, the Kangaroo Pantry is what it's called. So UMKC takes donations from our community, from sponsors, from faculty, staff, and students to stock our Kangaroo Pantry. Students can make arrangements. There are hours that they're open. Those are on the website. But you just have to show your student ID, and they will help you not only with food pantry items if you're experiencing food shortage, but they can also help you connect with other community resources that might be able to help with whatever your needs are.
That sounds like an excellent resource. So we also have a career center on campus. This is where you can find interview clothes. What else can you tell me?
Yes, our UMKC career offices are open to assist students with all aspects of career readiness, from the day they walk on campus and getting that resume. A lot of students will apply for scholarships in that first semester or towards the end of that first semester, and a lot of faculty will ask, sure, I'd be happy to write you a letter of recommendation. Can you send me your resume? So right from day one, we can work work with them to make sure that resume is what it needs to be. You mentioned the professional wardrobe program. Students can make an appointment. They can go and get a full outfit absolutely for free to go to job interviews, mock interviews. There are a number of career fairs that are held on campus every semester. So an opportunity for them to get to know employers, even if they're not ready to look for a job yet, just to go and make connections and build that professional network, ask about internships or summer opportunities that may be available. You never know who can benefit you in the future. So making those relationships early can really benefit a student.
Kind of have a funny story about that. One day I was in like a full sweatsuit, so sweatpants, sweatshirt, and I just wanted to take a look, maybe snag some brochures, but I kind of look like a bum. So if you do decide to go into a career fair, make sure that you look presentable, because like you said, this is a network building environment, so try to be professional if you do decide to go to a career fair.
Well, I'll tell you though, Elena, there's no harm in you just going in to check it out and making initial contact with somebody. I would tell you that I think for a new student, I would not be offended at all. I don't think there's any expectation there for someone dropping into a career fair that they're going to have on a suit and tie.
That's true, yeah.
Now if you were there looking for a job, absolutely you would look the part.
You're right. There's also a peer mentor program, right, where students, especially freshmen, sophomore students, would have an older, more experienced college student guiding them throughout their academic journey, right?
There is. That's called our Peer Academic Leadership Program, and that's open to all students. Some students are required to participate based on their admission criteria, but it is open to all students, and it can be a fantastic resource for students, not only in helping them to kind of have a peer support system, but also as a leadership opportunity. Because if you participate in the PAL program, then you can apply later to be a PAL mentor. So it's kind of nice that you know that your mentor was in your shoes once, right?
That is
nice.
You
can see, they've been successful, so now they're coming back to help another student be successful.
So the Writing Center, SI, and tutoring are all combined, right? How can that benefit students?
Oh my goodness. So the answer to that is infinitesimal, I guess. Is
that is true.
A word? I don't know. So students can benefit from participating with the Office of Academic Support and Mentoring in lots of different ways. I mean, just SI is really geared toward helping students to think about the material in a way that's different than how it was presented in lecture. So it's really about active engagement with the material. So thinking about it in different ways, trying to do concept mapping and put the pieces together. We talked before about how everything is related. What you're doing in your biology class, or your chemistry class, or your math class, it's all related. So helping to put that together. Students have to write in a variety of classes. So using the UMKC Writing Center is a great way to get feedback on your writing. And they can help just from idea generation to reviewing drafts to working on, really polishing up a final draft or a program. And students can participate with the Writing Center in person or solely through email, where you're just emailing drafts back and forth, which makes it convenient for a lot of students.
Absolutely. There is a very specific fine balance between working and having a job, paying your bills, and being a student. Is there a bridge that UMKC can help connect those two?
Oh, I can't imagine working full-time and trying to go to school full-time. And we have a number of students who, because of their particular situations, have to do that. They're responsible for their whole financial life. So we do have a lot of students that work and try and go to school at the same time. We recommend, especially for new freshmen, that they not work more than 10 to 15 hours a week that first semester, just to make sure that their academics are coming first, that they're being successful with that, and trying to get that all under control and rolling and comfortable before they take on anything else.
Absolutely.
So students have the career services we talked about before is a place where students can look for employment opportunities. Some students also apply for work study when they filled out their FAFSA every year. And if students were granted work study as an award and through career services, that's where they can go to find open work study positions.
I recommend that. It does get difficult trying to find that balance, being successful at work and being successful in school, but it's worth it, especially if you have to, which I have been a little unfortunate in the fact that I have had to, but it only makes you stronger, I guess. Like, you learn more about how to plan, time manage, working and communicating. I think it's important to be in open communication with your professors if you have to work hours that you weren't expecting, and the same with your employer. Being open with them about your school schedule and kind of telling them that maybe school is your priority. You might have to take some nights off, but just be honest and open from the beginning. That way there's no miscommunications.
Communication is key.
Absolutely. And I've heard a few students are worried about building friendships and making connections with their peers in general, but especially with these COVID regulations and Zoom limitations, how can students be expected to make friends and enjoy the full college experience?
Elena, that's a great question, and that's an issue that I think can sometimes take students by surprise. My daughter was a varsity cheerleader, and I thought she would make tons of friends right off the bat, but she didn't. She left all her high school friends and went to college, and she didn't know anyone. Yeah. And she was scared and started isolating herself. And, she eventually did break out of her shell and got involved, but that was a hard time for her for a while. And I think it surprised her and I both that the transition there was a little rocky. I encourage students to introduce themselves to others when they're sitting in class. Check out root groups. That's where students can find information about student organizations. That's a great way to get involved and to make friends. And if you're a little timid or shy to do that, grab a friend. Take them with you. Going to a meeting or an event, something that you think will be fun. UMKC has a week of welcome, so the whole first week of class is just packed with all different kinds of activities, and that's a great way to kind of reach out and make some new connections. Students can find out what's happening by searching Welcome Week on the UMKC website, or we have a new app. It's not our app, but a new app that they can download called Cork. It's CORQ, and they can register as a UMKC student, and that will pull in all the events that they can participate in.
Wow, awesome. Yeah, it does get stressful when you're balancing all these different aspects of your life, and then you still want to increase or encourage a social life as well. And with some classes not even being held in person, making those connections gets almost impossible. I feel like sometimes, even when you are sitting in class and you do have people, you're surrounded by people, even then it's easy to kind of isolate yourself, like you said. You have to really break out of your shell and make it a priority to make those friendships.
Yeah, I think it's important for students all to remember that they have Zoom accounts and you can schedule meetings. So get some people together that you know. Go ahead and schedule a regular time to meet for study groups, for fun times. I have standing Zoom happy hours, and I go to Zoom lunch meetings with my friends. And it's not the same. Nobody's pretending that it's going to be the same. But I have to say, it has been such a blessing. I am so grateful that I can at least still see your face, see my friends' faces.
It's better than nothing.
Smiles and those bright eyes. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. There's a lot of, it's hard because those physical connections too, like just a hug or a handshake, make a lot of difference, and kind of taking that out, it gets hard to deal with sometimes.
Yeah.
These are just a few questions we were able to gather from students, but we know that there are more, so don't be afraid to reach out if you think of some. This was such an informative episode, so thank you, Dr. Welchert, for your time and expertise. I think it was incredibly insightful and will help a lot of students. I learned some things too, so that's awesome.
I learned something all the time. Yeah, thank you for having me.
Yes, yeah, you're welcome. In the next episode of Stemology, the Assistant Director of Supplemental Instruction and UMKC Academic Support and Mentoring, Jessica Elam, or Jess as many of us refer to her, will be joining me for episode 21. In this episode, we hope to describe and share the many reasons why SI is such an important part of many college campuses. Share and subscribe, and don't be afraid to interact with me on the STEMology Facebook page, Instagram, and Twitter at STEMologyYSSG. And I'm not sure if you all noticed, but I did change my Instagram handle to match my Facebook and Twitter ones, just so that you're up to date and can find me on all of these social medias. Thank you for listening to our 20th episode of STEMology, a Young Scientist Survival Guide. Tune in with me, Alina Adams, for episode 21, Supplemental Instruction and Tutoring. See you next time.